And thank you for joining us on this Thursday afternoon, 107. And as we come on the air this afternoon, 135 million Americans under excessive heat warnings as Hurricane Beryl barrels across the country, bringing tropical downpours into the Northeast, adding to the flooding risk. All of this as another heat wave builds on the West Coast, building into the northern plains.
How many people are affected again?
135 million Americans under excessive heat warnings in the middle of summer. Wow.
It's July.
It's hot. We get it. Yeah. It's summer. But let's be dramatic about it.
We're not TV.
You can notice I'm not even paying attention to you.
You've never seen that bit with Pablo Francisco?
No.
Oh man, you do the voice, you throw the little beats behind it. Across America, 135 million Americans. No? Come on, you're a comedy guy and you haven't heard of Pablo Francisco?
I have not.
I have, but I'm busy taking care of our guest right now. Somebody here has to do this show.
Well, I'm trying to, but Dean's just like staring at the News Nation. I'm like, come on. You're leaving me out. You're making me look bad.
It doesn't take much.
I even wore my funny glasses today.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, man. We'll try this again tomorrow. Hey, Dean.
Where's my rain, Dean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting a little crunchy in some spots. I haven't had rain in 12 days now.
We don't need, most areas.
His lawn's looking a little weak.
My lawn has not been mowed because it is dry, and I know it's going to be hot, so I'm leaving it tall.
Most areas, they're doing just fine. So, get a hose out.
For once, our yard here at the studio actually looks, this is the first time this year that the grass out here has looked good.
You think so?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's been very patchy and very yellow all year because it's just gotten too much rain.
It's usually just covered in murder chickens.
Usually by this time it's brown and crunchy again, but here we are. It's lush and green, and I think a lot of people are not used to seeing the lush greenness stretching this far into July, as usually by this time of the year, especially over the last couple, it's kind of been drought conditions.
Generally by this time my lawn is dead, so I'm very happy that it's not. I will say a drier stretch of weather is not a bad thing for our farmers. They would be okay with us taking just a little bit of time for the crop to catch up and enjoy some sunshine.
Exactly. Sunshine and drier weather.
It's
get that corn growing.
Going to be hot. It's going to be humid. But with it, almost a day-to-day chance for thunderstorms.
It has been.
Especially in the overnight hours.
Mm-hmm. I've been caught out walking twice this week. Thankfully, I was carrying an umbrella because those pop-up showers became Bridgette huddling under a tree with an umbrella, praying not to have a lightning strike.
That is the worst place to be.
It is. Well, I did what I could.
You're better off doing the squat out in the middle of a field.
There was no lightning.
Well,
I was just trying to avoid rainfall.
Well, did you stay dry?
Not entirely.
Did you stay drier than if you weren't under the tree? And in your book, was it worth it?
In the book, it'll be worth it.
Well, then it's totally justified.
Speaking of worth it, I was downstairs. We have a lot of guests at the office today, and some folks are outside enjoying the nice weather and burgers. And I had the opportunity to answer some questions for listeners, and we love doing that. And one of the questions I got was, if I'm doing a drive-by on a field, how do I know if it's sweet corn? First of all, slow down. If you're driving 70, it's a little tougher to identify. 2, rip the husk back. That's going to be the first indication, right? If you just open up the husk.
Go out in the field and rip it.
You can't just go barging into someone's field and be like, I'm going to grab a snack.
Thank you for respecting property. But thirdly, I guess after that would be, we do see a lot of sweet corn that's planted on the edge of a cornfield. We're not getting a major sweet corn fields here. We're not a production area for that.
Just perimeter.
So on Justin, on your farm simulator game, what you could do is on your big 48, you can use like 3 rows on the outside up against the edge of the field, put sweet corn in those planter units, and you can plant sweet corn.
You can do that?
You can, because we do have Roundup Ready field corn and sweet corn. So you can plant it on the edge, and then it makes it easier for you to walk in and harvest because it's on the edge of the field. Also, the raccoons can find it faster.
Yes.
I'm just letting that one marinate there for a second. We got to have a good awkward silence for a moment to make sure your radio's still working. Yes, it's on.
I'm glad you do.
You can put different seed in the same planter and plant at the same time.
Yes, if you were not, you usually have a center fill, but what you could make sure to do is not fill off the center fill to those end units, and you could just dump bags of sweet corn into your end units, and then you
really?
Yes. Yeah. So
Cool.
Are you going to put sweet corn in your simulator?
Well,
now?
I can't do that. I don't think I can do that in the simulator game.
Okay.
But okay. So then, if you did that when it comes to harvest time, I'm imagining you're picking this well before you're going to harvest.
You're
the
picking
rest. So are
sweet
you
corn
going in
way ahead
by hand,
Yep.
or
You're going to pick sweet corn by hand, so you can take the whole cob. Because when we combine corn, as you guys will see this fall when we go to our Here We Grow project and combine our
right?
corn,
It'll eat it all up.
it'll chew it right off the cob for us and just take the dry kernels. You want sweet corn when it's still soft and squishy, versus we want field corn when it's already dried up.
I gotta say, my sweet corn is looking very, very good so far.
Tall.
Very happy. It's actually not that tall. It's 5.5 feet tall, maybe.
And I'm not surprised. Sweet corn generally is a little bit smaller. It also may look like a slightly different color just due to the hybrids.
Yeah.
How big are your ears?
Lighter green. Right here, underneath my headphones.
Well, yeah,
I
they're
knew that was coming.
smaller than average, but they're there. That's
Yeah.
why I struggle with hearing
Little bit.
sometimes.
Little
but
red,
the
but
I was out in the sun yesterday. The cobs, I mean, they look like they're full size cobs, but they're not as thick yet. But I got 2 on each plant.
Okay.
And somebody once upon a time told me there was only 1 corn per plant, and I have 2. So what's going on, Bridgette?
It's field corn, 1 cob per plant. You could get a couple extra. You could get a couple ears on a
2
sweet corn.
or 3, or is it
Yeah.
mainly just 2?
Usually just 2, but you can get more. And the
Per stalk?
and they'll be smaller because
Very interesting.
you got to have that much energy to split it up amongst the cobs.
Yeah. The more you divide, the more energy you need to fill them out.
Yes, that's right.
Indeed. But yeah, they look good. Way better than my corn last year.
All right,
which,
so
that was a disaster.
Well, like I said, for all of you looking for sweet corn, those are some tips to find it. But do remember, the raccoons can find it first. They're better than the best police detectives you've ever seen.
I bet you that they are.
I've got a police detective story for you. So I wake up this morning.
Looking for the weather?
Oh, geez.
I wake up this morning. There's a dead rabbit in my front yard. No,
That's wildly inappropriate.
nothing strange about that, right?
You know what happens when the
Don't
rabbit
worry.
dies, Dean?
It gets stranger.
And 10 feet from the rabbit are all of its internal organs, like all in a bunch. Like something got this rabbit. Something got this rabbit and literally took out all of its organs. What?
You know what did that?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to
I
know.
have a
I'd like
guess.
to know
There's a
what's roaming the neighborhood.
big old puma got it.
If it was a chicken, I would say a weasels. Well, they won't necessarily gut them, but a weasel will kill a
just
chicken and
Dig around for fun?
well, no, they tend to make
sport?
it a bloody murder scene type situation if a weasel gets in a chicken house.
So here's the thing. Was it all eaten up in a pile, or was everything just intact and
It
separated?
was intact in a round pile, 10 feet away from the
so
rabbit.
Were the eyes carved out and part of the jawline of the rabbit?
The head
'Cause
of the
those are-
rabbit was there. It was all the internal organs.
So we're talking about like a half mutilation thing here,
Oh,
right?
it was crazy. Yeah.
Ah.
Oh, here we go.
Now, it could be
The weather. Because it's hot
something from
in July.
another world that
Oh, please.
came down. And
This could be some supernatural stuff here, Bridgette. You have no idea, and you're just jumping to a conclusion to try and get us back onto agriculture. We could be on some groundbreaking stuff right now, and you want to dismiss it like fake information.
I do. Because I'm sane.
And we're insane?
Sort of.
Anti-sane?
I don't know if I'd go as far as saying insane,
Well,
but not.
Sort of
how about
sane.
not normal?
Fair.
That's-
I'll take that. Slightly odd.
No, but that was weird. I mean, if anybody knows what animal could have like literally degutted a rabbit and all the organs were intact in a round circle, like almost like they were just taken out, put down, and the rabbit was dragged
right.
10
I
feet
mean,
away.
I've heard of people getting the crap scared out of them, but never their intestines.
It
so
was
for
the
those that
weirdest
don't
thing.
know, Dean has been suffering from a very, very, very minor case of amnesia a few days ago. Could this possibly be related to that?
Did you bump your head?
Did you check your hands or your kitchen towels in between?
I did not. To be fair.
Okay, this is like parliamentary procedure, and I'm calling for the 3rd time now. How about the weather?
What about the weather? It's hot. I already said 135 Americans are under
Let's see.
excessive heat warnings as tropical storm Beryl barrels across the country.
I see these headlines: extreme heat expanding across the U.S. It's July.
It's
I know.
July.
It is. Some of it is record heat. Some of it is, but we're not going to be dealing with that here. But we will be dealing with temperatures in the 80s and maybe even a few spots in the lower 90s over the next couple of days. We're at 85 degrees right now. South winds a little on the breezy side. We'll top out in the upper 80s today. And with those breezy conditions out of the south, it'll be a dry day, though, today. Tonight, then, clear skies, lows in the low 60s. And as we head into tomorrow, we're looking at a little more humidity, highs in the upper 80s, some spots touching 90, and a few storms possible tomorrow night. And then Saturday's going to be warm and humid, upper 80s to near 90, and better chance for storms coming Saturday night. Some of those could be on the strong to severe side. The good news is by Monday and Tuesday of next week, we'll have temperatures in the 70s. So back to a nice Canadian air mass as we head into next week.
Sounds refreshing.
I did see a news story last night that made me laugh when they said that air conditioning repair is is a bit of an uptick right now. Well, it's July. Happens every year. And honestly, I'm fine with it
Must be a
until
slow
it's my
news day.
air conditioner.
Can you repeat the headline again, please?
That the air conditioner repairs were on the uptick. And you know what? That's the way this day is going to go. We're going to say wow many times. We've got an upcoming guest. That's Lisa Peterson. She is an NDSU livestock extension specialist. She's going to help us answer yet another listener question that we got. So we're going to want to follow up with that. And also, I had another call or another message just a moment ago in regards to rolling soybeans and temperature-wise, if that's a good or bad thing. So we will get to that, and apparently dancing cows here on the live stream. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Arr, matey.
Welcome back to Weather Nag in Focus. And boy, that couldn't have come soon enough. We were having an off-air discussion that I never want to get back to. So so glad that everyone's with us today. And we are going to make sure to take the time to say thank you to some of our guests as well as sponsors. Here We Grow is our 20 acres of corn that we're custom farming over by Glendon, Minnesota. And we had one of our sponsors in studio yesterday. That was Red River Retention Authority. Brian Feuder was here to join us. He talked about their Authority Partner Summit on July 31st in East Grand Forks, featuring former Minnesota Representative Colin Peterson. If you have questions and looking for details on that, email me, ag@flagfamily.com. I'll be happy to answer. Also, thank you to Gowan Company. They brought us Affiance fungicide, so we don't have to worry about disease issues while we're in the field with our corn this year. And also, if you have questions as we go along today, be sure to send them or give us a call at 701-293-9000. So our guest today, as I'm rummaging through all of my paperwork, our guest today is Lisa Peterson. She is with NDSU Livestock. She's an extension specialist for us. And you know what? She's so happy to be here. We even brought our mascot, the little cow Cooper. He's on the live stream. He's our Highlander.
Hey, guys.
Hi,
What's going
Lisa.
on, Lisa?
He's a cute Highlander, too.
He's doing
Nice
well.
and fluffy.
I keep forgetting the curry comb. He kind of needs a little work over
A little
here.
matted, but,
kind of zhuzh him up slightly. Okay, so I reached out to Lisa because first of all, we can ask a ton of livestock questions, particularly related to heat stress right now. But we had a listener question, and Lisa helped me with the answer, and you guys are going to enjoy having this discussion. Okay. The question from our listener was, how come cows don't get chapped lips? The how or the why?
It's because they come with Carmex.
It's in their udders, I guess.
They-
Okay.
They're self-applied.
Okay, Lisa, you sent me a great email response, but I'd rather that you start with this discussion about the cows and why they don't have chapped lips.
So this is certainly not scientific. This is just Lisa's kind of thrown together information about cattle and livestock. But what I would say is that cattle don't have chapped lips like we do, first and foremost because their lips are hidden. They're kind of back in their face instead of being stuck out in their face like ours. And compared to humans, cattle lips are thicker. The skin is thicker. And so I don't think that they get as much damage because they are thicker that way. One of the things that is really cool about cattle is that they produce about 10 to 12 gallons, 40 gallons of saliva a day. Horses produce 10 to 12 gallons of saliva a day.
Hold on right there.
Holy.
That's a pile of
Now
spit,
that's what
right?
I call a sticky situation.
Wow.
You said 40 gallons per cow.
4D.
Yeah.
Wow. That's,
Yeah.
man, you can't cover that with a bib.
That's a lot of drool.
That's a lot. And how much for horses?
And it's sometimes a lot of drool, which we can talk about the drool piece in heat stress as well. But
Okay.
our saliva is really, really acidic. And as most of us remember from biology, the first step in the digestion process is the mouth and chewing, and saliva actually starts that process of digestion. But in cattle, there is a little bit of acid in there, but by and large, there's a whole bunch of buffers in there. And along with the buffers, there's a whole bunch of protozoans and other microbiological critters that are in there. But there's a whole lot of that buffering agent in there. And part of that is because they regurgitate when they're chewing their cud. And so that process is always ongoing. So that's another reason I think that maybe their lips don't chap as much. We have to remember that evolutionarily, cattle and horses and sheep, they all graze and they eat, woody plants and stickery things. And occasionally I'll even see a cow at our place that has this cactus stuck out of her lips, and I feel really bad for her.
Ouch.
Hold on. Cactus out of the lip. Okay. We were all looking at each other back
Do
here.
we have cactuses here?
Well, first of all, Lisa's got to explain where that location is. Yes, we have cactus in North Dakota. And thirdly, who pulls the cactus out? How does the cow compensate for the cactus needle?
So we ranch in north central South Dakota, just west of the Missouri River. And we have a lot of cactus. And in fact, in central Dakota and then into Dakotas and into western Dakotas, we do have a lot of cactus. I don't know how they get it out, but you'll see them in their lips one day, and I assume that their really tough tongues probably lick them and kick them off. I don't know that. I don't know how they get them out, but you'll see cactus in their hide and sometimes in their lips.
At least what kind of cactus?
Prickly pear usually.
Okay, all right.
I thought she was going to say the prickly ones.
The spiny ones.
Or the ones with pokies.
I just, when you said kick them out, I've seen a cow try to get a hoof to her mouth, and let me just tell you, that's an acrobatic routine right there that you can't imagine. So good luck, cow. Whew,
you said they produce 40 gallons of saliva.
Yes.
Do you know what a person produces? I guess I can Google it.
I don't know. I would guess probably. I think actually I looked this up and I had to look back through my notes here just as I was going. A human produces 1/4 to 3/4 of a gallon of saliva a day.
Wow, that even seems like a lot.
It does. Oh, I know Lisa's like barely through her explanation, and we have a kabillion questions over here.
I'll tell you what. Before I was utterly confused until Lisa actually explained.
Nice. Great. Okay. We were on the cactus because it sticks them. And
cacti.
Yes, a cacti, and they graze low to the ground because I usually don't see you guys eating stuff off the desk. Unlike
you haven't seen Justin in our office, but
no, thank God, no.
Most of us are civilized, right?
Well, he's currently shooting Cheetos over there, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So good.
All right, so cactus, they work around woody plants, so really their lips are kind of tough in order to get through all of that material. Tough. Okay.
And I think in the livestock species, at least of the grazers, probably sheep and goats have the toughest lips, followed by cattle, and then I would say horses. But all of them have to be tougher than ours. I'm sure of that.
Okay,
all right, and Lisa,
ready again.
Lisa, are there obviously many parts of the cow are used with the cow lips? I thought I saw somewhere where some cultures consider it a delicatessen. But
you've never seen
cow lips. Are cow lips
a delicacy?
Delicacy?
Delicatessens served like a ham and cheese.
That's what I meant.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Delaware? Della who?
So yes, actually, we do export probably the majority of our production of cow lips to the Middle Eastern countries and even some to Mexico. Other cultures do enjoy cow lips. So, I always think about the Asian cultures, like they call them chicken paws, but chicken feet. And I don't even know what they eat off the chicken
paw.
feet.
But, oh my God.
Sounds a lot more adorable than it really is.
Wow.
I have a chicken paw story later. Okay.
Yeah, I got a story about a chicken claw.
We're going to get to those and more. It is 1:30, bottom of the hour. Oh, Lisa's going to have to go back through her notes because we have completely blown apart her answers because we keep asking stupid questions. Or no, they're just questions.
No, there's just questions dumb people are asking.
Yeah, okay, fine. And when we come back, we're going to continue that conversation with Lisa. We have that and so many more. And for those of you listening, you can call us at 701-293-9000, the Red Wing Shoe line. Be right back after the news. And welcome back to Weather Nag and Focus. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us. And we are just all sorts of giddy today. We have a pile of questions for our guest, and that is Lisa Peterson. Lisa is with NDSU Extension as a livestock specialist. And what prompted our discussion was a question from a listener. Do cows' lips get chapped? And Lisa did her homework for us, but it led to this whole pile of more questions. Okay, so Dean, you had a question about the amount of saliva, not from a cow, but...
Well, we were asking which animal produced the most saliva.
Right. Is it more than is there something more than a cow?
Is there an animal out there that produces more saliva than a cow that you know of?
Boy, I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
Maybe like an anteater. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Wow.
Interesting.
We are learning much.
I've had some dogs that produce quite a bit.
Well, we had a listener who sent a message and said he had a neighbor's Labrador Retriever rest his head on his lap, and the lab drooled so much it filled the guy's boots. Like that's a problem, like a Saint Bernard type problem. Okay, so
That's
Lisa,
true. Some of our dogs do drool a lot, and so maybe some dogs do. I'd not thought about that. So it's something to look up. We'll look that one up when I'm done.
Google.
what intern project has to stand there and count the drool that comes off the dogs and the cows? Okay, now. Some of the notes that you and I exchanged, but we haven't got to yet, not so much with the lips on a cow, but udders, and especially with cold or extreme heat. So tell us more about that.
So, I had said to Bridgette that, we don't maybe worry about chapping of lips in cows, but we do worry about chapping of udders in cows. And we actually select cattle that have pigmented udders because in snowy areas and even in desert areas, those white udders will burn. And it can become so severe that it's painful and the cows won't let the calf suck. And so you'll end up having a calf that will literally starve. It's a bad situation when those things occur. And you're out there with bag balm. It's actually one of the reasons why bag balm was produced, and you're trying to make those udders not hurt so much. So it can be really bad. And of course, we don't really think about udders chapping in most species, but it can be really, really bad in cattle.
And Lisa, what is worse, extreme heat or extreme cold?
Probably extreme heat in the north, especially. If we went further south where cattle are more adapted to heat and livestock are more adapted to heat, maybe it wouldn't be quite so bad. But in the north, our cattle are very, very well adapted to cold. And, once last year we had reports of adult cattle receiving frostbite on their ears and on their udders and testicles. But in my 25 years here, I've never heard of that other than then. So it's in those cases were in places where they did not have a lot of windbreak for cattle to get behind. But by and large, cattle tolerate cold better than they do heat. And the reason why is that their thermoneutral zone is somewhere between 15 or so degrees and on the top end, probably 75 to 80 degrees. And then when we factor in humidity, things get really, really wild in terms of heat stress in cattle. And so black-hided cattle actually have an internal temperature that is anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees higher than other colors of hide. And so we can see some pretty significant heat stress issues in cows out on pasture along with cattle that are in a feed yard or confinement situation.
Interesting. Kind of like, for humans, heat is a number one weather-related killer.
Sure it is.
So it's kind of the same. Same with livestock.
And lots of times we don't, I wouldn't say that we see so many deaths here in the north. And some of that is because in North Dakota we don't have a huge feeding industry like they do in some other places. But we'll start to see decreases in pregnancy rate in our cows because of heat stress. We believe that we really saw that in 2011. It had been a year much like this, that it was pretty cool. And then boom, in July and August, it got really, really hot. And we had significantly decreased pregnancy rates that year. And of course, we don't truly know why, but one of our hypotheses is that it was from heat stress.
That would make sense in a lot of ways. Speaking of heat stress, Lisa, one of the things I wrote down that we were going to talk about when you mentioned earlier drool and heat stress.
Yeah.
So what's the relationship
Yes.
there in regards to primarily cattle, but any livestock really?
Well, so we tell people that when you start seeing cattle with open mouth breathing and drool coming out, you are in a huge emergency situation. In fact, for like feedlot cattle, you probably are past the point of return of having a good outcome.
Boy.
And so cattle should breathe about once every second or so. I think we say that their respiration rate is 60 breaths per minute. And when you see that starting to go up to about 70 to 80 breaths per minute, you really need to start thinking about getting more water to them. If you can get some shade to them, that's great. It's probably easier to do those things in a confinement situation than it is in a pasture situation. But cows will drink when they're in their thermoneutral zone, about 1% of their body weight. And when they're lactating, that's probably about 1.3% of their body weight. But when we add on heat stress, that number can go up to 2%. And so you think about that, if you have 100 cows that weigh 1,500 pounds drinking 2% of their body weight, that is a huge amount of water. That's 3,000 gallons of water.
Yeah.
And lots of times we don't have enough water space for them. So in feed yards, I've seen people be highly successful in taking in portable feed bunks and filling those with water so that you can increase your water flow to cattle. In a pasture situation, cattle like to go stand in dams and dugouts and
Yes.
sloughs when it's hot, and I don't blame them. So what I tell people is that if you've been fighting that for a while, start watching for foot rot afterwards, because that's a great build up to starting to get foot rot in your cattle as well.
Oh, for God's sakes. Now we just went from everybody's needs to rehydrate. We're trying to keep the udders from burning up. And now it's a foot rot because they were standing in a pond.
Yes. And
Yeah.
gallons and gallons of saliva.
Well, exactly. Restocking the pond. Earlier today, I was doing a story talking about water quality for ponds and stock dams and that type of thing. And I mentioned, keeping the water quality good. Like if you have a blue algae situation, you want them out of there. And I had a rancher message me later and say, don't forget you can add copper sulfate to those dams, et cetera. What other recommendations do you have about having good water quality this time of year, Lisa, for livestock?
So one thing about copper sulfate, you can put that in, but you generally need to remove all livestock because that copper sulfate can be toxic if you put that in at a high enough level to manage your blue-green algae. So, water quality is such a big thing, and it's really hard. If given my opportunity, I would pay for well water, rural water for my livestock every time. All the research in the world, whether it's done in Canada or Mexico or Brazil, shows the livestock are healthier and perform better when they are on a system that provides water in.
Like a rural water system,
not in a
hydrants, that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And so a lot of that is because of total dissolved solids and coliforms and those kind of things that come with them standing in water and doing all that stuff. And so I know it's not always possible, but that would always be my first choice. And so if you're, dealing, especially if you have a big dugout or a big dam, and you historically have some foot rot problems, what I tell people to do is stick a submergible pump in your dam or dugout and pump out of it, and you will almost always decrease your foot rot issues. That doesn't always help with this heat stress stuff.
Right.
Cattle stand in water because of heat stress and to get away from flies. And, our fly control solutions are tough, but we do have good success today with fly tags in cattle, but you have to use them judiciously and correctly and rotate your product and take them out. And some people don't want to mess with that. But, I know that you will decrease your foot problems, your foot rot problems, and your heat stress problems if you have a good fly management program.
Well, and flies decrease your rate of gain because your cow is under stress trying to battle flies.
Yeah.
And I had a story this morning as well, Lisa, that you can help me with. And that was stable flies can carry the vector for bovine mastitis. And I'm not sure if you have
Yes.
done work on that or seen anything. And so do you think that's a high incident rate where cows can get mastitis, which again, also we have to describe if we have to define mastitis, if you could. I know what it is, but maybe we should tell everybody else.
So mastitis are infected udders. Very, very painful, can be deadly if not treated. Um, we don't do a lot of mastitis work in beef cows because we just don't see it as often as we do in dairies. It does not surprise me that stable flies can carry the bacteria that cause mastitis. That does not surprise me at all. And we know that generally speaking, most of our pink eye issues in cattle are due to flies. We know flies that can carry a whole lot of other diseases. And so flies are a major challenge, and they are really, really adaptable. And so you just think you have your fly management strategies figured out, and then it all kind of impales on you, and you have to start over. Flies are very, very adaptable in their lives, and they definitely have that evolution thing figured out to stay alive.
Lisa has just explained why we are raising 20 acres of corn and not 5 head of cattle.
Oof, yeah, no doubt.
The management level that we would need to impart is tremendous, guys. Okay, Lisa, we have covered so much ground today, and I really appreciate this, that you're helping us answer listener questions. Any things that you want to make sure are going on at NDSU that you want our listeners to be aware of, how they can find you, any of those last details as well. And I also know you happen to do the bovine emergency management seminar too.
Yes. Yes. So, some things that are going on at NDSU right now. First of all, we have a lot of fairs and county achievement days going on. And take a little time, even though it's hot, and go see what our youth are doing in 4-H and FFA. This is the culmination of their hard work and learning, and it is really cool to see what they're doing. And I judged yesterday in Emmons County, and I'm judging tomorrow in Wysocki in Bridgette's stomping grounds, and it's going to be hot. And I know I'm really
some of those.
excited.
I know some of those kids.
Yeah, and I'm so excited because it is fun to see what they've learned. And we know that 4-H has 4-H kids who have been in 4-H are about 4 times more likely to be involved in their communities than others, make better decisions. And so go see them and see what they're doing. State Fair starts in a couple of weeks. Take a little time and go see what our youth are doing at the State Fair. On the adult side of our lives, we started our Research Extension Center field days this week. Ours at Streeter started that tour, and it was on Monday. Since then, they've been to Dickinson, Hettinger, and Williston. And so next week, we will actually pick up some of those field days and be in Carrington and Minot, and I think Langdon. And so stop in and learn what we are doing research-wise. I think you would be totally amazed at the cool research we are doing, both in terms of livestock agronomy, soils, environmental health at our research extension centers.
So many good things. Oh, Lisa, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We have a fantastic staff at NDSU, and whether it's Don Kinsler, whether it's Lisa, whether it is Angie Johnson with Farm and Ranch Safety. In fact, tomorrow we're going to have Frayne Olson on talking about what in the world just happened in this wheat market. So y'all are great resources. Thank you.
Hey, I was just glad to see that cattle market go higher today. So.
Yep. Yeah, we are too. All right, folks. Stay tuned. We will be back to recap that weather. It's hot.
We'll see your relatives tomorrow.
Thank you. And we'll recap weather and headlines. Thanks, guys.
Come on, Cooper, you got this, man.
Yeah, let the cow talk.
Come on, Cooper.
His lips aren't chapped. We learned that in the last segment.
Nope, just his udders.
Oh,
Poor Cooper.
I don't-
Whoa, put him down.
That's not an udder on Cooper. That's also something that shouldn't get chapped.
That's wildly inappropriate.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's-
All righty, and that's the fun of a live stream. Welcome back to the program.
Listener feedback.
Indeed.
We
They
had
like
some
my
more.
Cheetos?
They do indeed are watching you eat Cheetos, and that's not just one person. That's a couple now. Also, folks with cattle up in northern Minnesota, they have a well. And so even when it's wet and the pond is full, cows will stand in the water to cool off, but then they will go drink fresh water from their water tanks. And in that particular herd, if beef cattle get mastitis, they get sent down the road. They don't want to have to worry about calves not getting nourishment, et cetera. So that changes for that particular herd up north. So thanks to all those folks who are listening and sending us messages. Also, I had a question about rolling soybeans.
Yes.
That was yesterday. So, okay, here's why you roll soybeans. You take great big cylinders, pull them behind a tractor, roll your beans because you push the rocks down so that when you
Flatten
combine, your beans are up higher, but your rocks are in the soil surface so they don't come through your header and into your combine. I had somebody sent me a message yesterday, said, well, I'm out rolling beans now. Is that a good idea? Okay, a couple things. First, you're already there. So
You're doing it.
You're doing it.
I don't think it matters.
we've committed here, folks. Secondly, those were late planted beans. They weren't terribly large. And yesterday was warm. So the nice thing is when your beans have a warm day like that, they're very flexible. So if you run the roller over them, they'll come back up. If it was a cooler day, I'd be concerned about breaking off their little heads.
Dean, did you know that rocks float in dirt? They rise to the surface. They float.
That's why you got to go pick them.
Who knew?
Who knew? I did. Did you?
Guess I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
So
Most people probably don't. It's
Yeah.
kind of a dumb thing to know.
well,
I'm full of useless information
I
over
got
here.
a lot.
there you go.
Lots of it
there
over
you
here.
go.
That's exactly why. So, weather?
Yeah, do you got any useless information for us about weather? Like my rocks floating thing? Anything
Yeah.
odd?
boy.
Got
Come
any
on.
more there?
Give us something weird.
We're going to have some ridge riders coming in this weekend. And I don't mean somebody on a horse with a lasso.
Gosh, is this a biker gang? Or are they going to the fair?
know that horse riders were called ridge riders.
No.
That's rough riders.
But if you're coming over, like, let's say you're coming over the field up onto
fields.
a ridge. Yeah. So you're out in,
ridges or mountains.
yeah,
Yeah.
ridges.
Cool. Okay.
So we'll have a few ridge riders.
what's a ridge rider?
A ridge rider is a complex of thunderstorms that rides right along the cusp of the northern part of the heat ridge.
Oh, are you
that's
talking
building
about the heat dome? The
Yeah.
135 Americans.
Hey, is that where Mad Max was? That
Million.
was in the heat dome?
It's million.
What did I say? 1,000?
135.
Oh,
Just
135 Americans under excessive heat warnings in one county in rural Michigan.
That's this building and the next one. That's all of us.
Northern
Oh,
borders.
man. No, but we do have a chance of storms in the forecast Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. And again, some of those could be severe, especially Saturday night, maybe Sunday night. We'll keep a close eye on them here for you. But other than that, we're just looking at hot weather through the weekend before things cool down next week.
What about the afternoons and evenings of Saturday and Sunday? Because I know there's a lot of people that they got plans around in town.
I'm going out
lakes,
lakes.
country.
I'm going
I have a softball tournament.
I gotta carry an umbrella again.
Is there any potential late day peak heating evening storms?
Possibly on Saturday, but I think most of that's going to be overnight. Sunday, again, possibly with the heating of the day. Depending on how much those overnight storms kind of scour out the atmosphere,
I think
does it have time to regenerate during the afternoon hours? And that's why I think most of these are going to be nighttime events.
Right. Well, and there is, to a point, some amount of capping that will be around.
Yep.
So if you
Can we
get
bust a cap?
Can you bust a cap?
If we bust a cap, we will have severe weather.
So we will see how that cap can be hit. How many times can we hit the cap
How
before
many
it
times
busts?
can we bust a cap?
How many
see.
times can you bust a cap?
You don't want to know.
All right. All right.
Gonna be curious if y'all are busting a move down in the weather office
I'm
later.
still going through my brain on what mangled up
Amnesia.
that rabbit in my
Amnesia.
yard.
It's
Still
really-
got to figure that.
You're really scared about this, aren't you?
I was going to
Well, he's worried it's him. I'd be worried too.
I'm worried for the next door neighbor dogs. Don't leave them out. but I was going to post it on Facebook, but I know darn well that they would flag that.
No, you'd get banned.
Yeah, you get
You'd
banned
be
for
Facebook
posting
jail.
that.
I had one of my articles that I put on our website that got flagged on Facebook because I said wildfire smoke. Because I used the word smoke, Facebook censored the article, took it down, and would not allow me to post it. And I have appealed it, but it has now been 3 days and nothing has happened.
What do they got against smoke?
Well,
Wind,
you can't
flame?
promote smoking.
Oh.
Well, God forbid someone smokes.
Wow.
So I used the word wildfire smoke, and they were like,
You got to be, you're serious.
No, seriously.
Wow.
Yeah. All of our platforms, it booted it except for Twitter.
I have things. Well, that's because
Let's go,
Twitter,
Elon!
Over on Twitter, we can get away with a lot of stuff, guys.
Make sure you pay for your X Premium accounts, kids.
I did. I did. You can
Just
find
don't
me
show
on
your
Twitter.
spouse that unless
X.
they're aware. X Premium for $5.99 every month.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the one where you get the blue check so that
Yeah, that's X Premium. That's how it comes in on a statement.
suddenly I feel bad.
You should check.
I don't want to know.
You might be concerned.
Remember who hosts a chat called the Nooner Chat on
Oh,
X
you're
on
fine
Fridays.
then. You're fine.
It got
All
weird.
right. All right. Well, we'll be back with just as much, if not more, weird tomorrow.
If we're
everyone.
not fired after today.
Yeah, it's just good radio, man.
right.
We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. And Jay Thomas Show's coming up next.